morning, everyone. My name is Kevin. This is my wife, Sherry.
Hi.
And we will be sharing about John 18 today. Sherry's going to be focusing her thoughts on Jesus, Judas, and Peter. And I will wrap it up with Pilate and the religious leaders.
All right, let's get started looking at Jesus in John 18. So back up, it actually starts in John 17. Jesus had just finished praying about being glorified. He prayed about his disciples and he prayed about the believers. And then we pick up in verse 18 and it says, when he had finished praying, Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side, there was a garden and he and his disciples went into it. Basically, Jesus went to go pray. And first question I asked, well, didn't he just finish praying? Why is he praying some more? You know, Jesus, knowing the time had come to carry out God's will, well, he needed to get the strength to obey God's will and also to carry out God's will. It was a heavy burden he was about to take on. And so my first question is, when faced with life challenges, how much time do you spend praying and asking God will be done in your life? Also praying for your heart to obey and carry out God's will. And my next question is, are you ready to do whatever you're called to do after praying? Are you having deep prayers with God to get the strength to obey his word, to follow his word, and to carry out his will when you're called to do it? I know not all the time I run in prayer and get that strength I need. So, but we see here in verse 4 and 5, we see a very ready Jesus. He is ready to obey and to carry out God's will. When he said, who are you looking for? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Well, he didn't show any signs of fear or hesitation or looking for a way out. He boldly said, I am he. So now we look at Judas here. And I came up with the title, Beware of the Sins That Causes You to Pull Away from God. Okay. When looking at Judas, the first question I asked myself is, what can make you turn away from Jesus after walking with him for 3 years? And Judas walked with Jesus for 3 years. And the only answer I can come up with is unrepented sin or sin never dealt with, you know. Back in John 12:4-6, we see Judas' heart and his love for money because he objected to Mary pouring expensive perfume on Jesus. It said in verse 6 that Judas was the keeper of the money bag and he used to help himself to what was put into it. So we see that part of Judas' sin was the love of money. And next we look at Peter. I relate to Peter most, okay? As I read through the gospel, I see Peter often miss the mark, not fully understanding God's will. He often spoke too soon, acted too quickly, and was easily angered, which is the total opposite of how you should be according to James 1:19. I'm having you go back and read that, okay? And at times, he was a people pleaser, you know, wanting everybody to like him, you know. And in John 13:37, we see Peter tell Jesus that he would lay down his life for him, not really counting the cost or determining the weight of what he was saying. And when Jesus told Peter that he would deny him 3 times, Peter may have felt in the back of his mind, as we all do when somebody tells us something, like, no, Jesus, not me. I got your back. The weight and guilt of denying Jesus can make anyone walk away from God, you know, just having a guilty conscience. But I love Peter because they said in other accounts he went outside, he wept bitterly. And as we know, for time's sake, Peter got back right and he became one of the most powerful apostles and ushered in the church. So just a tale of two people who have actually sinned against Jesus during that time. And we see one who pulled away and left, even killed himself. And we see one who repented and came to be one of the most powerful apostles. So thank you for letting me share. I look forward to talking to you.
I like the way Sherry segued into a tale of two people who had sinned against Jesus. And, really, in a lot of ways, that's the same thing with the religious leaders. In John chapter 18, verse 29, it says, quote, "And to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover." And, when you really think about, what the Passover is, the Passover is basically an assembly of God's people coming together to worship the Lord. And it just really struck me. And it was like, on one hand, these are the religious leaders. These are the guys that, would never miss a Sunday service, never miss a midweek, knew their Bibles back and forward. But at the same time, they're really, their hearts are so hard that they don't even realize what's going on. That this is a religious festival honoring God, remembering that God had brought you from, the bondage in Egypt and brought you out in a mighty way. And it's a remembrance. It's a time of worship, but yet and still they're plotting, not only that they're plotting to kill an innocent man, which they are, they're literally plotting to kill the Messiah. Just to get personal, I just celebrated 26 years in the Lord. And as I grow older, I'm reminded about how important it is to guard our hearts. In Proverbs 23, it talks about, above all else, guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life. If we think about our enemy, Satan, and the one thing that he wants to do to take us out, or the one thing that can take us out, is that if he can attack our hearts and if he can get our hearts hard. And, if we just become people that attend religious activities that are void of inner worship, that is definitely what can damage your heart. And then the last thing I'd focus in on, Pilate, not really going to spend too much time there, but one thing that stood out to me is that, in his conversation with Jesus, you think about his role as a Roman governor. And bottom line, if the leaders brought Jesus to Pilate to be executed, that was a part of his responsibilities, man. He was the judge, the jury, and the executioner in some situations. And I think about Pilate in the sense that he had seen all types of individuals. I'm sure there are people that he had to condemn to either the cross or condemn to death, and they would be defiant. They would be, hey, I don't care. I know I'm going to die, so I'm going to be rebellious. I'm going to be, defiant in my last interaction with you. And then there were also those who would, quite frankly, I'd probably be in this boat. Somebody's about to kill me. I'm just petrified with fear, begging for my life, pleading. But we see none of that with Jesus. In his interaction with Jesus, it was so profound that he was like, man, I find no cause for accusation against this man. And so, the tale of the two people is that, man, Pilate, because of peer pressure, ends up deciding to kill an innocent man. And then the religious leaders of the day, obviously because of their hardened hearts, decided to hold on to their positions and hold on to their pride. But anyway, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day today. We love you all. As Sherry said, we definitely look forward to seeing you in the near future.